Have you ever wondered, how do you know when a woman isn't just enjoying the present, but is secretly imagining you in her future? The truth is, most women don't announce it. They don't sit you down and say, I'm planning a future with you. Instead, their mind starts changing their behavior in small, almost invisible ways. And if you miss these signs, you might never realize how deeply she's emotionally investing. Today, we're exploring 5 powerful psychological signs that often reveal a woman is beginning to picture a future with you. And trust me, the 5th sign is so subtle that most people completely overlook it, yet psychologists consider it one of the strongest indicators of long-term emotional attachment. Let's begin. When people think about love, they often focus on grand gestures, romantic dates, long messages, or saying, I love you. But psychology tells us something different. Long-term commitment usually starts quietly. Before someone imagines marriage, before they imagine living together, before they even admit their feelings, their brain begins asking one important question. Can I picture this person as part of my life months or even years from now? When the answer slowly becomes yes, their actions begin to change. Not dramatically, but consistently. Let's look at the first sign. Sign 1. She naturally includes you in future conversations. Imagine this. You're talking about vacations. She suddenly says, we should visit that place someday. Or maybe she says, when winter comes, you'll probably love this cafe. Notice something? She isn't only talking about today, she's casually placing you into moments that haven't happened yet. This is called future-oriented thinking. Psychologists have found that when someone starts imagining a long-term connection, the brain naturally begins creating shared future scenarios. And here's what's interesting. She may not even realize she's doing it. It feels natural, comfortable, almost automatic. Instead of thinking only about herself, her brain starts thinking in terms of we. It could be something as simple as discussing a movie coming out next year, planning a festival, talking about future holidays, or mentioning experiences she'd like to share with you. These aren't promises, they're psychological previews. Her mind is quietly testing what life with you might feel like. The more often this happens, the more likely she's emotionally expanding her vision to include you. Because when someone imagines a future, they naturally begin speaking as though that future already exists. Sign 2, she wants to understand the real you. Early attraction is exciting. Everyone shows their best side. But imagining a future requires something much deeper, understanding reality. That's why her questions begin to change. Instead of asking surface-level things, she becomes curious about your values, your childhood, your goals, your fears, the lessons life has taught you. Why? Because emotional security depends on predictability. Psychologists often describe this as reducing uncertainty. The more she understands who you truly are, the easier it becomes for her brain to imagine long-term compatibility. Notice how she remembers little details. Your favorite meal, your stressful work days, the stories you've told months ago, even tiny preferences that you forgot mentioning. This isn't about collecting information, it's about creating emotional understanding, because a future isn't built on attraction alone. It's built on knowing someone beneath the surface, and when she genuinely wants to understand your character, rather than simply impress you, that's often a powerful shift toward emotional investment. Sign 3. She starts protecting the relationship instead of winning arguments. Here's something many people misunderstand. Strong relationships aren't defined by never having disagreements. They're defined by how people respond to them. Imagine this. A misunderstanding happens. Instead of disappearing, instead of playing games, she tries to solve the issue. She wants clarity, she wants communication, she wants peace. Why? Because people protect what they hope to keep. Psychologically, when someone imagines a future together, the relationship itself becomes valuable. Winning the argument becomes less important than protecting the connection. You'll notice she starts choosing understanding over ego. She asks questions instead of making assumptions. She explains her feelings calmly. She looks for solutions. Not because conflict is enjoyable, but because losing the relationship feels worse than having an uncomfortable conversation. This emotional maturity often signals that she's thinking beyond today's emotions. She's thinking about tomorrow and the day after that, because temporary emotions fade, but future-focused people invest in stability. So far, we've covered 3 signs, but here's the fascinating part, that the next 2 signs happen much deeper inside the emotional brain. They're less obvious, yet they're often the strongest indicators that she's beginning to imagine a life with you. If you've noticed these first signs, pay close attention, because the next ones reveal an entirely different level of emotional connection. Let's continue. Sign 4. She slowly brings you into her personal world. Think about trust for a moment. Trust isn't only about secrets, it's about access. When someone pictures a future with you, they don't want you to remain separate from their life. They slowly invite you into it. Maybe you meet close friends. Maybe she tells you stories about her family. She shares meaningful memories, important traditions, personal dreams, or even the challenges she's still working through. These moments matter because our closest relationships exist inside what psychologists sometimes call our inner circle. Very few people are allowed there. Being invited isn't about status, it's about emotional safety. She wants you to understand where she comes from, what shaped her, who matters to her, and she becomes equally interested in your world. She asks about your family, your closest friends, your routines, your ambitions, because she's no longer seeing you as an isolated person. She's trying to understand the life that comes with you. And that's exactly how long-term thinking develops. Two separate lives slowly begin overlapping, not through pressure, but through genuine curiosity and growing trust. Sign 5, she starts making decisions with us in mind. Now we've reached the sign that many people miss, because it doesn't always involve words. It appears in decisions. Imagine she has free time. Without thinking, she naturally considers whether you'll be part of it. She plans around your schedule. She checks if you're available before making certain plans. She remembers important dates that matter to you. She considers how her choices might affect both of you. Notice something? Her decision-making process changes. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" her brain quietly starts asking, "What's best for us?" This doesn't mean she loses her independence. Healthy relationships never require that. Instead, her emotional priorities begin expanding. Psychologists often connect this to developing shared identity. Instead of seeing herself as completely separate, she begins seeing the relationship as something worth considering in everyday life. And here's why this matters. Actions reveal priorities. Anyone can say they care, but when someone's daily decisions naturally include you, that's usually far more meaningful than romantic words. Because decisions shape the future, not promises, and when she consistently thinks about both of you, it often means she's already imagining what that shared future could look like. The bigger psychological picture. Here's something worth remembering. None of these signs alone guarantee that someone wants a lifelong relationship. Human emotions are complex. Every person expresses affection differently. Some people are naturally expressive, others are much more reserved. That's why psychology encourages us to look for patterns. One sign could happen by chance. Two signs might simply reflect comfort. But when several of these behaviors consistently appear together over time, they often suggest something much deeper. A woman who imagines a future usually becomes more emotionally consistent, more curious about your life, more interested in solving problems together, more willing to let you into her world, and more likely to think in terms of we instead of only me. These aren't dramatic changes, they're quiet emotional shifts, the kind that slowly build lasting relationships. Because lasting relationships rarely begin with certainty. They begin with repeated moments of trust, small choices, shared experiences, and the gradual realization that life feels better when another person is part of it. The strongest relationships don't appear overnight. They grow conversation by conversation, choice by choice, moment by moment. If you've recognized these 5 signs in someone you care about, don't rush, don't pressure the relationship, and don't assume every small gesture guarantees a specific outcome. Instead, appreciate the emotional trust that's being built. Because imagining a future with someone isn't about making dramatic promises, it's about quietly choosing them again and again and again. Real emotional connection isn't measured by perfect words, it's measured by consistent actions. And sometimes, the smallest behaviors reveal the biggest feelings. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new about female psychology, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next psychology-based video. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 signs surprised you the most, or have you experienced one of them in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you know someone who would find this video helpful, send it their way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.